Let's be honest, the words corporate law can sound, well, a little dry, right? Full of dense, complicated rules. But what if we looked at it differently? What if we treated it like a story? That's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to decode Indian corporate law by following the entire life cycle of a company, from its very first breath to its biggest power moves.
So how are we going to tackle this? We've broken our company's journey into 5 key stages. First, we'll see how it gets started, the formation. Then, how it fuels its growth by raising money. We'll peek into the day-to-day grind of meetings and governance, cover the absolutely crucial job of staying compliant, and finally, we'll look at the massive strategic actions a mature company can pull off. All right, first things first, getting started. Let's imagine we're creating a brand new company. We'll call it Explainer Inc. Now, before Explainer Inc. can do a single thing, it has to become a real legal entity. And that whole process kicks off with something you might think is simple, but is actually critical: its name.
So once you've picked that perfect name for Explainer Inc., the law automatically reserves it for you for 20 days. That's your window to get all the initial paperwork sorted. But, things happen. If you need a bit more time, you can pay a small fee and extend that hold to 40 days, or pay a little more for a full 60. It's like a built-in buffer to make sure you get off to a smooth start.
And boom, the moment your company is officially incorporated, a couple of very important clocks start ticking. You've got 30 days, just 1 month, to formally verify your registered office address. And then you have 180 days to file a formal declaration that your first shareholders, the subscribers, have actually paid for their shares. Think of these as your first big tests, non-negotiable deadlines every single new company has to meet. Okay, so Explainer Inc. is officially on the map. It's a legal entity. But a company on paper can't do much, can it? It needs fuel to grow, and that fuel is capital. This brings us to our second big stage, raising money. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to go public or keep it private, the law has some very specific roadmaps you've got to follow. If you're planning to raise money from the public multiple times over the next year, you might use what's called a shelf prospectus. Think of it like a season pass. It's good for a whole year. But if you're just doing a one-time public offer, you'll file a red herring prospectus, which has to be in at least 3 days before you open the issue. So you've got 2 different tools for 2 very different fundraising plans. But hey, maybe going public isn't your thing. What if Explainer Inc. just wants to raise funds from a handful of select, strategic investors? Well, that's called a private placement. And let me tell you, it comes with its own super strict set of rules, all based on numbers. And here is the magic number you absolutely have to remember: 200. In any given financial year, you can only offer shares to a maximum of 200 people through a private placement. That's it. Why so specific? Well, this rule is what keeps a private placement from becoming a public offering in disguise, sneaking around all the tougher regulations. And yep, you guessed it, another clock starts ticking. The second you get that application money from your investors, you have exactly 60 days to officially allot them their shares. The law wants this done quickly and cleanly, no messing around. So what happens if you drop the ball? What if you miss that 60-day deadline? Well, you can't just hang on to the cash. The law gives you another, much tighter deadline. You have just 15 days to refund every single rupee back to the investors. And this is where the rules show their teeth. If you miss that 15-day refund window, it gets painful. You don't just give the money back. You have to pay it back with 12% annual interest. That's a serious penalty, and it's there for a good reason: to protect investors and make sure companies play by the rules. All right, let's recap. Explainer Inc. has been born, and it's got money in the bank. Now what? How does it actually operate? Who makes the decisions? This brings us right into the world of day-to-day governance and the rules around the most basic building block of any company: the meeting. You can't just have one person in a room call it a meeting, right? For any official decision to be made, you need a minimum number of members present. That's called a quorum. And for a public company, the size of that quorum actually grows with the company. If you have up to 1,000 members, you only need 5 people. But for a really big company with over 5,000 members, you need at least 30 people in the room. Now, the standard rule is to give everyone 21 days notice before a meeting. But what if there's an emergency? Well, the law says you can hold a meeting on shorter notice, but there is a huge catch. You need massive, overwhelming agreement. For an annual general meeting, you need 95% of all voting members to say yes. That bar is set incredibly high to make sure that no one's voice gets left out of a critical decision. So,
Our little company, Explainer Inc., is growing up. It's maturing. And as it gets bigger, it's not just about raising money and making decisions anymore. It has a real responsibility to be transparent and accountable. This takes us into the world of compliance, audits, and even social responsibility. So, at what point does a company become so significant that the law says, hey, it's time for you to start giving back to society? Well, there are three crystal clear financial triggers for corporate social responsibility, or CSR. If your company hits any one of these, a net worth of 500 crore, a turnover of 1,000 crore, or a net profit of 5 crore, boom, the CSR rules kick in automatically. Now, to keep things objective and independent, the law says companies have to rotate their auditors. You can't just have the same auditor forever. That could get a little too cozy. An individual auditor can serve for one 5-year term. An audit firm, on the other hand, can do two back-to-back 5-year terms. But after that, there's a mandatory 5-year cooling-off period before they can even be considered again.
And this is where an auditor's job gets really, really serious, especially if they smell fraud. The law sets up a very clear two-tiered system for reporting it. If the fraud they suspect is less than 1 crore rupees, they report it internally to the company's board. But, and this is a big but, if it's 1 crore or more, that report goes straight to the central government. It's an incredibly powerful check and balance built right into the system.
And that brings us to our final stage, the big leagues. We're talking about the major, strategic moves that a successful, mature company might make. These aren't your everyday operational decisions. These are special actions that can fundamentally reshape a company, like buying back its own shares. A company can't just decide to buy back as many shares as it wants. There are limits. The board of directors, on its own authority, can approve a buyback of up to 10% of the company's equity in free reserves. But for anything more than that, up to a hard cap of 25%, they need to get a special resolution passed by the shareholders. The bigger the move, the more people need to approve it.
But buybacks come with some pretty strict guardrails to prevent any funny business in the market. First up, there's a time gap. Once a company finishes a share buyback, it has to wait at least 1 full year before it can even think about starting another one. It's a mandatory timeout.
And here's the other side of that same coin. After a company buys back its shares, effectively shrinking the number of shares out there, it's banned from turning around and issuing new shares of the same kind for a full 6 months. This makes sure that a buyback is a genuine strategic move, not just a short-term game to play with the stock price.
So what actually happens to those shares that are bought back? Do they go into a company vault? Nope. The law is incredibly specific here. They must be physically extinguished, destroyed, within 7 days of the buyback being completed. Poof, they are permanently wiped from existence.
So we've taken this entire journey all the way from just reserving a name on a piece of paper to a massive corporate action like a share buyback. And all along the way, we've seen this web of rules, deadlines, and percentages. Which brings up a really important question to think about. Are all these laws just annoying, restrictive burdens? Or are they actually the essential framework, the very foundation that builds the trust and stability we all count on in the market? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.